This is the voice of freedom. We are not one voice. We are many. We are your voice. But we can only be effective if you use your voice. Your voice. This is the voice of freedom. We will not hide from the truth. We will ask the hard questions until we are sure we have the truth. Welcome to the voice of freedom, where your voice will never be silenced.
Well, Happy New Year to you, folks. I hope you had a good one. Mine was very quiet. In fact, I stayed home for the most part. Had to go out and pick up my daughter, funnily enough, before midnight, and got home and suffered the effects of what I've been doing for the last few days. So I'd like to apologise to everybody who was looking for a show night before last. And there are these wonderful folks that we're about to talk to tonight have been waiting very patiently for me. You may have seen on one of my YouTube videos that I've been playing around with boiling water, or at least electrolyzing water, and seeing what we can get out of it. And it turns out, depending on what your fluid is, the fumes that come off it can do you a bit of harm. Apparently. So I may have, while being in a very well-ventilated outdoor area while I was doing it, I may have inhaled a few things because it has made me a bit crook. Anyway, I seem to be over that today, and I haven't boiled anything I shouldn't have today. So fingers crossed, the show goes on. I hope you had a really good new year. I hope you brought it in safely, and I think 2023, while being exciting in so many different ways, is also going to be extremely challenging. And one of the reasons that we are getting together tonight is to discuss ways that we might be able to get help with some of those challenges that are coming forward. Now, tonight you're going to meet a number of different people from different spheres who are approaching this problem from, well, a unified direction. And I love things that unify. You know me and the Unified Solution projects, folks. So that's always in the background of what I do. It has to be about us, a unified solution. And it has to be peaceful. So you may have heard about a magnificent effort that has been put out recently from a Sunshine Coast-based group called Unite in White. And they had a meeting at the Enoggera military barracks in Brisbane, where they invited John Wilson along. He read a prayer, and then peacefully the group presented a letter to the commanding officer of the base, who wasn't there at the time. They presented it to the gate guard. That's basically all we can do. Nobody's going to try and rush their way onto a military base to do anything. However, this has ignited the fire in a lot of people. And the next Unite in White event will be January the 6th in Canberra. Now, there are great reasons to come to Canberra at any time and help the folks down there. And when I say help the folks, support the folks, remember, it's nearly a year ago that there were, I'm going to say, over 2 million Australians gathered in Canberra to make change happen. And what happened? Nothing. Well, one of the blokes who was there right from day one and is still there today is Dan Vincent. Thank you, Veteran Dan. Thank you for your service, mate. Thank you for coming on the show tonight. I know life in Canberra for you just prior to Christmas was made extremely difficult. I gather you're still set up in the park, so not possible with your camera setup, I'm gathering. But there is another camera setup very close to you too, isn't there? Just outside on a big trailer.
That's right. Yeah, they brought in number 5, who's not really alive, to keep an eye on us. Just after Christmas Day, they had an operation against us, and I think we thwarted them somewhat. Yeah, the next day when they came in with the same force or even more force, and we were already there. So, but yeah, I'm not there at the moment. I've just been whisked away. I've got friends and family here on the front who keep watching my back, and so I'm out in an undisclosed location, but I'm still out the bush, and there's home's just behind me with a blanket of belief from Nan Wanda, and my pleasure to be here with you guys in great company for a great initiative. G'day to all, and g'day to all your digital diggers upon the webinets.
Thank you very much for joining us, Dan. Of course, it's you and well, how many of you are currently still in Canberra at the moment? You are trapped where you are in Canberra. So the group at the moment is pretty small from memory.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that rotate in and out. like I said, we walk in the footsteps of mighty men and women who have really invested in this cause, the sanctity for children. But yeah, obviously lives called them back. Then the real life dramas have actually caught people as well. Generally 12, sure. But you know, some days the Saturdays and the Sundays are beautiful days. We get a lot more, you know, up to 20. But for a long time there was always 30 plus. But everyone's getting excited now, though. Everyone can feel it. And like you said, this time we'll get the job done as overtly peaceful as possible.
Let's bring in the folks who are helping to make a bit of a difference here. I've got Edith, Tim, and Karen. Karen's on our left, Edith in the middle, Tim on the right. And I will not keep him waiting any longer. John Wilson sits in the wings. Happy New Year to you all. I suppose, I don't know, Tim, who wants to start off telling us about Unite in White? Where did it come from?
Okay, well, it's in a classic Aussie tradition. It started outside under a tree. And this was in a park on the Sunshine Coast when we'd invited John to come up to speak to a group of us. We didn't know how many people were going to turn up. At the end of the day, I think it was maybe close to 80 or so that were there. And we were just under the tree, and John was absolutely on fire, and he basically just managed to lever us out of our little comfort zone. And so at the end of the talk, various of us threw out suggestions and said, well, what could we do? And then one of the members in our group said, well, what about something in white? We could do something like a Mahatma Gandhi. And so that was received very well. And then we said, well, where's the nearest base? And, you know, that John had already talked about in Noggera, the Gallipoli garrison. So we said, okay, well, we can do this. And there wasn't long between having had that talk from John and Christmas, but we said, you know what? Let's just arrange something. It doesn't matter if there's only, 10 of us that turns up, because it's all about the energy. We need to start the ball rolling. We need to get the seed out that this is how Australians are thinking, and that we need to turn to the military to ask them for their help to save us from what has happened, what is happening to our country and the destruction that we are facing. So that was the genesis for the entire thing. And Karen over here was the one who came up with the slogan. And initially she said, "Oh, that's too corny." And we said, "No, that sounds good. We can all get behind that. Australians can really appreciate the concept of the peace and the purity that wearing white brings, together with wearing the hearts, the red heart for the past and present military, and the pink hearts for the children." And so we just that is how it all started. And the visit to Noggera was, in our mind, very successful. There was, I think, 12 of us that came down from the Sunshine Coast, and John was there, and he brought some of his friends, and other people had heard about it through John. So the numbers must have been up to around about. We're not really sure, but 30, 40, something of that nature.
Yeah.
As I say, it was the object was to just be there, to have that presence in peace, and deliver the letter with the lists of necessary actions that we want the military to undertake. And it was extremely, from our perspective, it was very successful. We had no idea that the videoing of it would just go out and really touch a nerve in Australian society as it has.
Yep, sure. John, it's a great, I think it's a very inspiring concept, Unite in White. And while Tim has explained the white, or where the white came from there, it's also symbolic of a surrender to the military, at least asking them to help the people not begging, but asking for the support that we ordinarily would expect of our military in times of crisis. Clearly, my dog's having a crisis at the moment. So how do we push this further forward? I know January the 6th is an important date. Canberra is an important place. Rather than getting 2 million people to turn up at the main step of Duntroon, there are military bases right across Australia. Is this something that we could, not obviously in this short time available now, but is this something we can look at doing at every military base across the country in the future on one day?
Oh, absolutely. This is a big moving part. It's not one event, right? This is a concept that will grow. Okay. I think when you say symbolism, you're right. But throughout this whole war against humanity and this whole war for the world, I mean, it's been full of symbolism everywhere you go, whether it's satanic symbolism or Freemason symbolism or whatever you want to look at. It's full of symbolism. And insofar as this event, I mean, look, it is symbolic. I mean, but the symbolic, this symbolic gesture sends a profound message, and I think that's why it has got a huge potential to catch on and literally go viral. Okay, so but there's apart from the symbolism, there's a lot of other practical stuff as to why all Australians should go out of their way to rebuild that relationship with the Australian digger. I mean, there's not a group of Australians here in this country that have been betrayed more than the Australian digger. I mean, we've all had a taste of forced vaccinations and being bullied and intimidated and have your jobs threatened. Well, this has been going on inside the Australian military for a lot longer, and it's been a lot more ruthless. So, they've been subjected internally within the military, and they've been stabbed in the back. They've been betrayed every bit and more as the Australian people. So, quite apart from the symbolic nature of this and the profound message it sends, and the unique efforts to try and rebuild that that partnership with the Australian military. I mean, we've got to also let the Australian military know that we know what's been done to them. We know how they've been treated. We're very aware. I've just uploaded an interview by a guy called ex-Australian military doctor by the name of Dr. Dan Mealy, and he interviews military people and how some of our military diggers, mate, are being treated is disgraceful. It's disgraceful. Yeah,
I couldn't agree more with you. Dan, you being a veteran, and you've been on the front line in Canberra, pretty much since day one. You've had assaults against you from AFP, from the Canberra police, and you'd be very familiar with military tactics as well. Are you seeing those sorts of things being employed? And one, from a veteran to a serving military guy, what do you say to these guys when you run into them?
Yeah, the first time I saw it was at Parliament, and there was a lot of people, families, kids, and there was police officers there with fully automatic weapons, moving right out toward the people. And I saw that, and I thought that was unacceptable because we'd been unarmed for a long time as the public people. And it's not the sort of sight that you want to be seeing in a very public area in our nation's capital. As soon as I ran at them and warned them out about it, that was unacceptable. They all just scattered and went underground. They're more heavily armed than, or not, maybe not more, but they're as heavily armed as I was on operations. And once again, it's unacceptable. But we're peaceful people. If they want to come and see me, put your weapons down. If you want to go to McDonald's, put your weapons down. The way they were walking around with big watermelons under their arms, just, mate, it's just wrong. Police force is never meant to be like that. No way at all, mate. It's unacceptable. But they don't intimidate us, mate. Yep.
No, that's the thing. They don't intimidate us. I know that they can look very intimidating to the general public, but the fact is, if you know the law, or you know that they don't know the law, there is a lot of power in that. And that's a whole discussion for another time, I guess. At the moment, I want to focus on Unite in White. So, Dan, what does that mean to you and to the crew in Canberra? How can Edith and her group, well, what do you want to achieve out of this?
Well, we want to inspire the rest of Australians to come and join us. Ordinary people, like, I'm a retired and I'm a housewife. I figured this whole thing, if I can figure it out, there can be thousands, hundreds of thousands of others who can do the same. And we just want to keep it very simple. If you can't go to a barracks, you could do it at your own, in your town's war memorial. You can hold a vigil there. Just be peaceful. You can do it anywhere. But we just want to inspire as many Australians to come on board with us and help us to get free of this tyranny. Simple as that.
And sorry, Dan.
Yeah, you're a breath of fresh air. Your group, it's a great initiative. We thank you very much. As Carl's alluded to, we've copped it pretty full on here, and we'll cop it as long as it takes, but we've had enough. It is dangerous. The narration of the current agendas and operations against us are very dangerous. We feel in danger from the establishment, from what would normally be our brothers and sisters at our arms, and not quite at wit's ends, but for lack of a better term. So to see you guys with this initiative, it's really inspired us. It's something, it's a positive action, and it's a time and place that it needs to happen. And your role models, you led that way for us. And so now we're just going to join you in that. It's a very powerful action. I love our brothers and sisters in arms. They need to save themselves because we've done all we can to save them. We need them to save us. And I'm not going to back off from that because we've quite clearly shown the Governor-General, the Parliament, the Judiciary, they can't be trusted. The police, they can't be trusted. We can know the law as much as we like, but they're just not listening. That Milgram experience, they just go back to processes. Oh, no. I say, you're hurting me. No, that's the process. You're hurting me. It doesn't matter. So thank you very much. This is something all of Australia can get behind, and I really promote it. I've got a few other different areas. We started Duntroon, of course. It is symbolic again. But then we've also got Headquarter Joint Operations Command just past Queen Bean. And I'd like to even think that our US Ambassador, Caroline Kennedy, might even like a letter to know that we're actually in positive action, imploring our military to stand down Parliament, as I tell the Governor-General every day.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
We absolutely share your sentiments. It's, this is the way that we can move forward and rally ordinary Australians to come together. It's very simple. It's an ideology. It's a concept. There are no leaders here. We may have started it, but we're not expecting to head up a movement. The movement is the Australian people banding together. That's it. And, this is such an easy way for them to do it. And you can do it anywhere. And just think of the impact that a group can have once this becomes better known in alt media and maybe even in mainstream media. At a sporting event, all you have to do is get a group of people with yourselves along, dressed in the appropriate way, and with the heart. And inevitably some cameras will be on you. People in the crowd will take photos and upload it to social media. So it's really easy to spread this kind of solidarity out. And we just look at it as nothing more than basically what Lech Walesa did in Poland back in the early 1980s with his solidarity movement, which brought down the Polish Communist Party. And this is basically a similar sort of concept, completely peaceful, no violence, but it's something that everybody in the country can join in with no matter where they are.
Well, let's speak to the oldest old commie in the group. He might know a bit about peaceful protesting in communist ways. So the Lech Walesa analogy is quite a good one, John. That's something that I think I saw a piece that you wrote today about unions and how members of unions should rise up against their union bosses or of like the leaders of the ACTU. And I'm going to name Bill Shorten as being one of those, who was very happy to have workers' rights removed from them so long as he got a deal in memberships that came back that helped him win power in the political wheelhouse. But the workers, particularly at Spotless Cleaning, I think it was in Victoria at the time, lost all their overtime and weekend pay rates, all that sort of stuff. All that went, and they wound up becoming members of unions that they didn't sign up to. So there are sneaky tricks that can be played, peaceful sneaky tricks. John, where else do we go with this?
Well, I'm on the public record. I've been trying now for about 4 to 5 years to mobilise and encourage the Australian trade union members. To get involved and to mobilise. And I had some success down in Melbourne with the CFMEU membership down there, where they gave John Setka some stick, and then we, within 24 hours, I don't know, they got about 500,000 people on the streets. The unions are a real key. If the globalists, the United Nations World Economic Forces, the Australian trade union movement is a captive operation of theirs. They own it. The Australian workers don't own their own unions. They are all a captive force of overseas interests. Okay, and the Australian trade union.
Oh,
they didn't like that.
No, they didn't like that.
Yeah, no, you push that button off. But the Australian trade union movements have been a dead rubber in this. They vacated the space, and then they betrayed all of their members by saying, if you don't get force facts, then we'll support you losing your job and all this sort of stuff. And they need to be mobilised. But the members, instead of looking at the Australian Constitution and so on and try and look for lawsuits there, which is, been said before, no one cares about the Australia. They ignore it. There is no law and order in this land. But, my suggestion is start looking at the constitutions and the rules of your own union and see where they have breached their duty of care and have a measure of liability, and start opening up lawsuits on the unions. That's what should happen. The members should start litigating their own leadership.
I think you're 100% right, and I think a class action against multiple unions would go pretty bloody well, except, of course, that we can't really trust the courts because the guys sitting on the bench have been appointed by the dickheads that have been allowed to govern us. So you're probably not going to get that justice in the court that we think we might get.
Look, lawfare, not warfare, lawfare does have a role. It's not the solution, right? I believe ultimately, and I've gone on record to this effect, that a partnership with the Australian military is where the solution lies. Okay,
Yes,
but lawfare does have a role.
Yep, I agree 100%. Dan, what do you say to people who say, well, look, we've already come to Canberra. We've already, turned up en masse. 2 million of us turned up. We had a great couple of weeks. We raised a bit of money. A bit of money went missing. We all went away feeling pretty good about ourselves, but ultimately we achieved nothing. Why would we line up to do the same thing again and achieve nothing? I would raise Brazil as an example. There's certainly a great example of the people continuing to rise up in their millions every week. But, what would you say to the Aussies who, let's face it, you've got to really want to go to Canberra. It's not the kind of place you can drive through and just say, we'll drive through Canberra. You've really got to want to go there.
It's almost like you have to now, mate. It's your duty to. This is too important. And I quote the words of Phil. He's quite smart. They say if America loses, we all lose, mate. If Australia wins, we all win. And I honestly believe that the world will see it.
Yeah,
and
I do too.
This is their capital. Well, let's do it. You don't go to Kansas if you want to, proclaim to the US Inc. You go to Washington. We've waited for the front to come up. A lot of people say where it is. I don't know. I'd just like to see it. But in the meantime, yeah, Canberra now, it was more, especially to honour all those that did come on February the 12th, many more awake. We just might get it done. But it doesn't matter. There's an army barracks everywhere. There's a government house everywhere. It's time to make the stand. It's the time for positive action. It's our duty to stand. There's more of us awake. The unity. Now just get on to this unity is contagious.
Yeah, that was my next thing.
Joined it, but this is a real action and it's time. So have faith in your brother. And I love John's words. He's right. I'm a man who walks in faith. But yeah, put on the armour of God and it's time to fight. Stand with your brothers, just like our diggers did in the trenches, mate. They wouldn't let their mates down. They wouldn't let their families down. They did it for those who couldn't fight for themselves. We've compromised them over all this time. You can see it. They're not for us. How many times we have to hit against the authorities to prove they don't care about us? And we need a drastic action to awaken them to us. We still can't pierce this low 3D frequency of fear for control through the mainstream media. We're bashing it. We just still can't pierce it. So yeah, the people stand. We're the plan. We're the answer. And I think you'll see the military stand in for us very quickly because we love our diggers, mate, and no one's copped it more than they have. Yeah.
No, I would agree with that 100%. John, you've been calling out certain parts of the freedom media recently. They call themselves journalists. So I've forgotten. What's the name you call them again?
Oh, pitch heads. Pitch heads.
I just wanted to make sure you were still up with it. People have approached me and asked, why is John having a go at all these people? Why is John ranting and raving about Avi Yemeni and, those sorts of blokes? You and I have discussed this privately. I support what you're doing 100%. I've seen too many.
Oops.
You've just frozen.
He has, mate. Coming back. He's coming back. Or maybe you can continue for him, John. It's your subject.
Oh, there you go.
We lost it, Carl. We lost it, Carl.
They must have figured out how to scramble Starlink. So that seemed to be what's happened. Dan and I are both looking up above our shoulders. Now with all that, I've forgotten where the hell I was at. What was I saying?
Talking about the media. Sorry.
Oh yeah. So how goes the battle with the pissant media? Are you copping flack personally, and why have you selected the ones that you've initially charged at, John? And how is this going to help the movement?
Well, look, one of these organisations, their mantra right now, they've posted is, don't say anything that you can't take back. I mean, that's their advice. I mean, all it does is tells people to shut up, do what you're told, reinforces fear, etc., etc. I mean, now's the time we've got to get louder, not quieter. I mean, now's the time people, and surely by now, if they can't see the danger that they're in, now's the time we've got to get very loud. And we have those in the freedom movement, which are saying, don't say anything you can't take back. I mean, I'm flabbergasted. And I mean, look, we had over 1 million people thereabouts in Canberra, and I'd run a lot of industrial disputes. I mean, it's no secret I'd run lots of big industrial disputes in my time in the unions. Now, I have never gone to battle ever in my life. And all my old brothers in the unions are saying to me, what's going on in this freedom movement? Because I've never run a battle in my life without knowing what we're fighting for. Without knowing, we had 1 million people in Canberra and we could not even pass one motion, we could not make one decision while we were there. It turned into a friggin' rock concert. You get me? People were entertained. Yes. And no serious business was done. Now, the first thing you've got to know is, who are we fighting? I mean, who's our enemy? What we're in this war for humanity. Well, who are we fighting? Let's name them. And secondly, what are we fighting for? What's at risk? What's at risk? What are we likely to lose? And that's everything, right? Yeah. But also, what are our claims? What's our statement of claims? We don't have any. I mean, we've got some within the freedom movement on one tangent saying this is what my claims are, and others on the other side, the freedom movement saying something completely different. So these clowns in the freedom movement. My strongest advice is get your friggin' act together. Stop your bullshit. Don't hide behind paywalls. Don't go telling people to go quietly into the night and shut up and do what they're told. I mean, that's bullshit. That is bullshit. This does not have the sound, the touch, the feel of a freedom movement that's fighting for freedom. It doesn't have those qualities.
Yeah.
That's why I've been critical.
Well, I think that you've hit the nail on the head. Many of them are very good at asking for a great deal from the people and giving very little back. I know Avi seems to be giving a lot of people.
The Australian people have given these celebrity freedom fighters, this bunch of them, this crop of them, and I don't need to name them. Everyone knows who they are. They're in your faces every day. But they've given them millions of dollars in donations and support. They've given them, millions of people fronting up, down in Canberra, giving them their support. They've given them, a ton of spiritual support and prayer, etc. What have they done with all of that? What have they done with it? Where has it gone? And it's gone nowhere.
Bought a new car, bought a new boat, bought a new house. Yeah, went for an overseas holiday. Yeah, went everywhere but helping the people.
Yeah.
So that's what I find probably the most insulting thing about what they do. And while we are asking for memberships at Voice of Freedom, we hide nothing behind a paywall. Our membership money goes directly into the petrol tanks of the vehicles that are going to keep us on the road. And that's transparent. It's going to be very transparent. Everybody will be able to see exactly what goes on and where, why and how, not because we have to share it, but because there is no reason to hide it. So what we're doing here is trying to grow communities from ground level up, and we're trying to inspire a nation to rise up. I think Unite in White is a wonderful thing to get behind because it's a peaceful movement, and for and above everything else, everything we have to do has to be peaceful. I know that there are elements that say, oh, we're going to have to fight. We're going to have to get our gun out of the cupboard and go and wave it around in front of Parliament House. Don't do that. You're going to get yourself killed, and you're going to get people like me who don't have a gun to wave around get killed beside you. People like Dan, who if he had a gun wouldn't be allowed to wave it around because it would have been taken off him. He's too bloody good with it. And people like John, who they won't give him a gun, but they will gag him any way they possibly can. So, we need to keep the voices, your voices going, and that's what the Voice of Freedom is all about. It's not about my voice or me or what we're going to do about me. This is about us and where Australia goes as a nation and where the people go as a nation. And I think this is a great opportunity to help show your support on January the 6th. If you've got nothing to do and Canberra's not, a too taxing drive away, what else are you going to do? Go for the drive. Come down to Canberra. Shake Dan's hand. That's the way to be. I think it's a wonderful initiative to get behind.
Carl, can we just, I'll hand over to Karen to give an update on some of the other vigils which are being scheduled for the 7th.
Absolutely, that'd be great.
So it's only been 2 weeks since we were at Inogra. So there's been an amazing group of people come on board on our Telegram page, and we now have a Facebook page. So we've got a lot of interest, and a lot of people are really excited to do, larger events or even just smaller events. So what we have coming up is we're going back to Inogra this Saturday at 10:30. We'll also be at the Keswick Army Barracks in Adelaide on this Saturday. Up near Yeppoon in Queensland, Emu Park, they're also meeting on Saturday. And we've just heard, and it's very exciting, Lismore's come on board, and they're all doing a vigil on Saturday as well. So that's just
excellent.
There are others coming up. I won't mention those just yet.
Excellent. I've got a sneaky suspicion I might know the powerhouse behind what's happened in Lismore in the last few days then. And congratulations to her. If she is indeed behind that's great news. Guys, I am going to...
Could we please say something about Lismore? This is Helen from Tenterfield has asked me. She's just on her own. She has said, could we please ask for some veterans in and around Lismore if they would join her? She has just set up a Telegram channel called Unite in White Lismore. And you can find the details. If anybody in Lismore wants to start partaking in this, would you please join that Telegram channel and coordinate it with her? It would be great if we had some veterans there who would greet the soldiers player at the gates there of the barracks. But she's on her own at the moment, together with one other lady. And if we could help her, the people from Lismore, because I think you have a lot of people who listen to your show from around Lismore. So if we could get that out, that would be great.
Sure. We might be able to get quite a few people to help there. In fact, I could ask John to put a message out to Dave O'Neggs. He might be able to pick her up on his jet ski and get her to the event.
Yeah, he won't listen to me, mate. I'm banned.
I guess I probably will be soon after that too. All right, look, I don't want to hold you up. It's New Year's Day, and you've no doubt had a pretty big time, and clearly the powers that be are trying to hack this signal pretty solidly. So I'll say thank you very much to Karen and Edith and Tim from the Sunshine Coast. United, are you guys going down on the 6th, or are you proxying?
We'll be going to Enoggera on Saturday up here in Brisbane.
Off to Enoggera? Yeah. All right, tremendous. Well, best of luck with that. In fact, I might see you at Enoggera. I can't get to Canberra as I've got some meetings on the Gold Coast next week that I have to be at. But I'll speak over to Enoggera today. Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, happy 2023, and you'll be well represented here in Canberra. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Oh, sorry about it. John, thank you, mate. I know you're going away for a couple of days to have a little bit of a break. I know I keep promising to come and visit you, and I never turn up. So one of these days, I will change. There will be a bottle of scotch that you owe me, and we will sit down and figure out how to refloat the world from the deck of your boat, I reckon.
Yeah, sure. I mean, good scotch, man. There's you don't need much more of an excuse.
No, absolutely not. So thanks, mate. You have a good couple of days off, and I look forward to catching up with you next week. Okay, thank you, sir. Good night, everyone.
Good night, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Pleasure.
And veteran Dan, mate, all power to you, brother. I feel for you guys in Canberra. You've worked your asses off for us all, trying to get the names of the 28 pedophiles that have been hidden. I think most people on this channel know that I lost most of the respect I had for Malcolm Roberts the day he came out and said, I've been able to find no evidence of such a thing. He must have fallen over and hit his head on the Wood Royal Commission documents while he was not looking too hard. So I support 100% what you're doing, Dan. It's so important that we protect the children. And it's so important that the bastards that have been elected to represent us, that have been perpetrating these horrors on our kids, are found out, are exposed. Some of them are old men, some of them are dead now. But that doesn't mean that what they did cannot be exposed. It has to be exposed, because if it won't be exposed, it will continue. And I take my hat off to all you boys and girls in Canberra.
Yeah, mighty women, mate. Yeah, surrounded by them. Yep. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. You're all powerful people. I'm delighted that I can be associated with you in some small way and offer what I can by way of support as I can when I can. So thank you, brother, for everything that you're doing. Thank the people around Canberra. And I will be in your neck of the woods in a few weeks. I'll be down with a carton and we'll save the world, hey?
Yeah, I'll be privy to a beer or two once in a while. Thank you very much. And I look forward to a Great Australians Rising. We do this with substance of character and intestinal fortitude. Yeah, walk the talk. Bring your heart, It's going to take all the heart we've got. Thank you.
That's right. And it's not hard, folks. Just stand up. Stand up. Your heart will stand up and beat with you. And when you stand up and meet others who are standing beside you, it beats harder, it beats stronger, it beats faster. It becomes a lot of fun. Yeah, that's the way it moves. So stand up, folks. Get someone to stand up beside you. Unite, unite, unite. And
we're going to do it with this close. Yeah, do it now. We're going to do this, mate. Yeah.
Yep, 100%. Mate, you look after yourself. Very happy New Year. And like I say, see you in a couple of weeks.
Happy New Year, digital diggers upon the webinets. We'll see you soon at the front.
Cheers, mate.
Good day, mate.
It's great. So thank you to Dan, to John, to Edith, Tim, and Karen. Unite in White is happening in Canberra on the 6th of January. If you would like more information, it is available. You can get it through vofhq.com. I'll put some stuff up on the webpage, and don't bother Cherie with it, although we probably have an email address there somewhere. I'll make sure it goes up on the website, and details of maybe where your local one will happen will be posted up as soon as they become available too. If you are in Brisbane and you're not going to go to Canberra, then Enoggera, and actually they're still here, so let me bring you back in. Hello, folks, back again. What time are we meeting at Enoggera on the 6th?
10:30.
Enoggera
The
on the
7th.
On
It's the
Saturday.
7th.
The 7th.
Saturday.
Saturday.
It's a
Beg your
Saturday.
pardon, on the Saturday.
10:30.
Right, 10:30 on the 7th.
Yeah, so it's the corner of Lloyd and Norman Terrace.
Right, in Enoggera.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. I'm glad you hung around so you could answer that. I should have got that out earlier. Thank you very much. I'll be back. So yeah, there you go. 10:30 a.m. If you're in Brisbane, I'll see you there. It'll be at that one. Hope your New Year's went well. Hope you're not suffering too much by way of a hangover. I'm not. I've been inhaling, well, hoping that in the next few days I'll get someone to poke their head up and say they will test what I've been getting out of the water. So if you are someone who has access to the equipment required to test what substances are in this water, then I'm very pleased and keen to hear from you. Carl at vofhq.com will get to me, or Cherie at vofhq.com will get to Cherie, who always gets to me regardless where I am. Very keen to see if we can get this stuff tested. A lot of it is magnetic, especially stuff that's coming out of our taps and out of our filtered water. And you might find that hard to believe why it would be coming out of our filtered water. Unless you've got a reverse osmosis system, your filtered water is no better really for the really bad stuff they've got in the water, because while the filter system removes all the chlorines and the fluorides and the thises and the that's and the other bits and pieces, it does not break the water down at a molecular level. So I've been electrocuting water, and what happens when you electrocute water? You break it down at its molecular level. And while doing this, I have heard about new technology owned, patented by DARPA, that is called nano encapsulation technology. Nano encapsulation technology. What does that mean? Well, a nano can be anything in a number of sizes. We think of them as very small, but small, so small that you're not going to see them with the human eye. And I can show you using a camera with a big lens on it and even a macro lens, just how tiny these particles go. And they are smaller than that even. What we are seeing, even under a macro lens, are clumps of these things joined together. Now, I've been speaking to people today who have access and knowledge to the carbon fiber industry, and the certain different sorts of oxides that are used, different ingredients, if you like, that are used to harden certain substances, to help things stick, to help things not stick, all that kind of stuff. So it's been quite an education to learn how carbon works, and how the advancement of nanotech has, been in leaps and bounds with the advancement of carbon technology. And while carbon in the commercial world has had some setbacks, particularly carbon fiber we're talking about here, it has certainly revolutionized the world. Well, turns out there's a lot more to it than just that. I think you're going to be amazed to see what nano-encapsulation technology hides from you in a clear glass of tap water or a clear glass of filtered tap water. At the moment, my little experiment seems to show that the same amount of this horrible black magnetic crap, and there is a huge amount of it, is in both. And that is because your filters do not split the molecule, the water molecule. They'll clean all the other bits around it, the fluoride and all that sort of crap out, but they will not split the water molecule. And nano-encapsulation technology means just that. They hide something, a nano-sized something, inside a water molecule. Have a think about that for a minute. Have a think about how small that would need to be. How small is a water molecule? It's staggering stuff, folks. It's staggering stuff. And I've been running around with magnets and bloody syringes and all sorts of interesting flavors of water. It's like a supermarket out the back of here at the moment. I've got so many different types of water, and so many folks have asked me to test the ones that they drink. I'll give you the heads up right now. I have tested rainwater today, and there is much less mineral content in rainwater than in anything else. And you might expect that. You might ask how there is any mineral content in rainwater. Well, a raindrop might pick up some mineral content as it's falling from the sky, potentially, but it doesn't indicate to me that whatever they're spraying in our skies is translating to rain and coming down in our rain, at least the rain that's happened in Brisbane in the last few days, because I don't think we've been sprayed up here. I know they're doing a fair bit of it in Victoria at the moment. So the aircraft are involved down that neck of the woods. Maybe if it does start raining, folks, get yourself some water straight off the roof and test it. Where I am leaning to with my results at the moment is always capturing rainwater, always. It seems to have, like I say, the least amount of minerals, and what minerals it does have in it are good minerals, ones you would expect to find. The bottled water that you get in supermarkets, for the most part, all have some minerals in them. You would expect that, ores and that sort of stuff. When you test these things, if you decide to do it yourself, if you get an orange or a yellow sort of sediment in the bottom, then that's not to be unexpected. The water, particularly in mineral water sense, has come from the ground. A lot of it's drawn from bores. So, yeah, there is obviously going to be a natural mineral content, and some of that might be magnetic. What we are looking for is something that is radically different, and you will see just simply volume and color change. No longer is it like the red desert. That kind of red is what you're looking at. That kind of ore, kind of iron ore red is what you get out of most of the mineral waters or bottled waters. Coolridge gives you the least. Outside of rainwater, Coolridge is the least, but only by a very small margin. The rest of them have a little bit. Most of them do not have very much black in them at all, if any. But your tap water and your filtered water from your tap is absolutely full of it. And I say full of it, I mean a glass that holds 320 plus mils of water. That's what I had in, about 320 plus. And it yielded the better part of, I would say, 150 mils of this black sludge that has taken 2 days to settle into the bottom of the glass. So I am going to go and boil that off. I will go and get a gas mask because I'm sick and tired of making myself sick. But yeah, I'll go and boil that, and that sediment I would be very, very, very interested in getting checked for whatever it contains. But There's an interesting question. So boiling tap water for coffee is no good. Well, I think boiling water is fine. So what I'm doing with the electrolyzers, it's not boiling. It's not boiling the water. It did actually boil the San Pellegrino, which was my mistake. Should only do mineral water for about 3 minutes, not 30 minutes like I did it. Because it's got a much higher mineral content, much more connectivity or conductivity rather, and it carried on. The others didn't boil over at all. The tap water and the filtered water came close to boiling. The glasses were very hot, but it didn't boil. This electrocution process, if you like, of the water is what splits the water molecule, not the boiling process. So that'd be my very basic science sort of understanding to that one, Pat. I think your name was. Nat, you sent me a PM. Oh, with web links to research. Oh, God, Natalie, don't we love you? Now all I need to do is teach you how to use a camera and do the research, and then you can do reports for me. How good would that be? Just saying. Having a bit of a glance up through. Oh, Aussie Cossack was on last night. Did anybody watch that? Did anybody go and pay I don't know how much it is. Is it $4? I think it's $4 to go and be a member a month. I'm just wondering what the upshot of it all was. He was going to make a big announcement. I don't know if that was that the Russians have accepted his application for I was going to say residency. I don't know that it's residency. I think he's just wants asylum, which could eventually lead to residency, I'm sure, because he's not going to be allowed to take up residence in the embassy for too much longer. I don't know how that turned out. If anybody went behind the paywall and has a bit on that, drop that in the comments. I'd be very keen to see. I sent him an email, but celebrating. He probably hasn't got to it yet. Just having a look through your comments, folks, to see if there's any questions there that I can help with. G'day, Paul. Good to see you in. Tash is telling everybody, A1, folks, if you're wondering, there's a training day on the 6th of January. So A1 will not be in Canberra for that meeting. Bosie, I guess, won't be in Canberra for that. He's probably on the horn to somebody very impressive from America and talking to them instead. But I'm sure that it'll be an enlightening session for all. Mrs. Cossack. Mrs. Cossack could probably benefit from a character reference. I think we'd all vouch for Mrs. Cossack's character. She is a wonderful human being, a wonderful human being. So we'll see what happens. Aussie Sue. Oh. Right. All right. Well, if you didn't tell him anything, that's... Or maybe... I'm not going to surmise. Christoph, what am I doing here? Can I put a link to the setup for the water? I'm keen to know what you're using. Well, I'm using one of those Chinese cheap electrolyzers. In fact, I'm using 3 of them. They were about, and when I say cheap, they're cheap. I think I paid like $11 each for them. Might have been $9. Could have been 13. Wasn't much more than that. I don't know, they took about 3 weeks to arrive. They are very dangerous. If you go online and you go and look at YouTube and whatnot and inquire about electrolyzers, you'll be told that they're the world's most dangerous tool. You don't want to be anything near them. Stay away, stay away, stay away. Yes, they can be very dangerous tools. Let's be honest. These tools were made in China. The Chinese are not real flash at electronics unless they've stolen it from somebody else and have just re-engineered it. Now, these blokes reckon that they could probably do their own wiring on this. And there are horror stories of supposedly the off switch being wired in the wrong direction, the thing still being live even when they're in the off position, variety of different things. My rig is set to a they all plug into one power board. Each of the plugs has its individual power switch, and the power board has a safety switch system in it as well. I did a stupid thing yesterday by reaching over and turning off the unit using the switch on the unit. Probably shouldn't do that, especially around water and 240 volt, because it does supply 240 volts to the water. You do not want to stick your finger in the water. You do not want to touch these things in anything other than very reverential ways, because they will kill you. But that's what electricity does, folks. Electricity will kill you if you don't handle it with some respect and a little bit of knowledge. I've been very lucky. Very lucky. I have gained a lot more knowledge about electricity in the last 3 days than I've ever had in my life. So I've been very lucky that I haven't killed myself. So if you're going to do this, do it the right way, and do not be stupid and reach over and hit the switch on top of them to turn them off. Make sure you've got them all plugged into one thing, turn one thing off and one thing on. They all come on, they all go off. And then unplug them out of the power board as well. That's the safest way to do it. Do not inhale any of the smoke that comes off, particularly mineral waters. Smoke doesn't come off the normal still waters, but mineral water, particularly the San Pellegrino, that San Pellegrino, my God, the amount of black magnetic crap that I got out of roasting 3/4 of a bottle of that is staggering. And it is definitely graphene oxide. It is of such a powdery nature, and it clumps together, which was one of the things that I learned today. That's one of the hard things to deal with graphene and with carbon fiber. The carbon clumps together. It's difficult to pull apart. I'm certainly finding that now that it's been electrified out of its little encapsulated water molecule. It is clumping together. There is a ton of it, and I could pull a ton of it out with a magnet. So, very keen. Maybe, I don't know if anybody who's in Brisbane happens to know the doctor who, I think he's in Wynnum Manly, name I've forgotten. He went and bought one of these very powerful microscopes to have a look at what was going on with blood after the jibby jab. Maybe he might be interested in getting this stuff under an electron microscope or whatever it is, something very powerful, so that we can actually get a good eye on it. I played around with a bit of it today on paper and a magnet, and the magnet was under the paper, and I was dragging it around on top of the paper. So there's definitely magnetic properties. But having said that, natural minerals that come out of the water, come out of the earth in the water, also have magnetic properties. Some of them. Iron has a magnetic property. So you'll have to watch the other videos when I put them up. But you will see there is a very great difference between the iron in our water and the good minerals, if you like, in our drinking water, and the stuff that's coming out of our tap water and our filtered tap water particularly. Absolutely horrendous. So I'll aim to get those cut up tomorrow and hopefully posted by tomorrow night. If you can help out for January 6th, either in Canberra or at any of the other places where there will be a stand on the 7th, then love to see you there. Like I say, I'll try and make the inaugural event on the 7th. And we're looking to get on the road and go south, as I say, hopefully to get to Canberra in the next couple of weeks, set up with the Galactic Larrikins, get to put all this new equipment together and make it work. And then we will hit the road. We're going to go and see Michelle in the Blue Mountains. We are going to go to a donkey sanctuary, which I'm really looking forward to doing. We'll go and see Baz and Sandy at the donkey sanctuary and spend a day or two there, let you get to meet some of their magnificent wards. And then we're heading back into Victoria and then into South Australia. Our membership page is now live at VoFHQ.com. If you'd like to support us, become a member. You can do it from as little as $2.50 a fortnight, I think it's down to. There are a variety of options on the webpage. Just go to VoFHQ .com and go to the members menu. Don't worry about logging in membership. Just go and have a look at membership levels and follow the process if that's what you'd like to do to try and support us. As I said earlier in the show, this is all about just raising enough money to keep the Galactic Larrikins and us on the road and coming to your place. And when we come to your place, we're going to bring my place. Really looking forward to growing that this year with Darren Bergwerf and co down in Melbourne. Over 50 my places already established across Australia and growing at a very rapid rate. In fact, we had to slow things down in the lead up to Christmas and over this Christmas New Year period. Everybody needed a little bit of break, but there is a lineup of towns that want to be involved. Towns, suburbs, cities, they're coming from everywhere. We want to come and visit you all. And if you don't know anything about my place, then get a hold of Cherie at vofhq.com. Tell her you want us to come to town and set up and tell you about my place. We'll bring a my place to you. That's our aim this year, to create a traveling my place so that we can bring it into any town, give you a feeling of what you can create. And we would love to come to your place and show you our place. Hope you can join us. It'd be pretty cool. Thank you, Elsa. Thank you for your support. Thank you to everybody who throws their support behind us in any way, be that physical, be that financial, or be that spiritual. I know that a lot of people have heard that I've been sick over the last few days, and a number of people have been keeping me in their prayers. I thank you very much for that. It means a great deal. And maybe just pray for me not to be so stupid next time. That might be the easiest thing. Dear God, please don't make Carl a dickhead anymore. And if you are going to make him a dickhead, for God's sake, keep him off the road.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!